Vince's blog. Earth date. Whatever, it's in the title. Anyway, so as I've pretty much decided what I'm going to do with Vince's blog is I'm just going to take you guys on a little journey through my pull list, as ridiculously pointed as it happens to be, and also maybe share some of my Punisher collection with you today. But first, I will touch on insanity. And for those of you who didn't listen to the blog last time, no, I haven't gone insane. Insanity is a workout program that I'm doing now. And it's all cardio and jumping and things of this kind. Now, I've completed roughly 2.5 weeks worth of insanity. It is still ridiculously hard. However, I am improving to some extent, which I find, exciting. I weighed myself today. I haven't weighed myself in a while because while I was doing P90X, I found that after about a year's worth of doing P90X, I evened out. I wasn't losing weight each week. In fact, some weeks I was actually gaining a pound or two, which I'm not going to complain because I realize that there are muscles will store water differently on certain days. Your body will store the food that you intake differently on certain days, and just because you've gained weight doesn't mean that you haven't lost fat. So, you gain muscle mass, you lose fat, and you could end up being heavier than you were when you started. I mean, that's one of the things that skinny guys find out is that they don't lose weight, they gain muscle, and they get heavier. So, bottom line, there it is. But I weighed myself today, and I was pretty excited to find that I've lost a few more pounds than the last time I weighed myself. However, the last time I weighed myself was, 2 months ago or so. So I've lost approximately 120 pounds now. So that's what I'm down. I'm down to 226, and I started with 346, and yeah, so that's pretty exciting. That's nifty. I like it. But there's about 2 pounds worth of shoes in there because I was weighing myself with boots. Don't ask me why. I just started weighing myself with boots, and I thought, well, maybe I should weigh myself with boots again so I can make sure that I'm doing the right weight here, make sure that it all evens out. Or I could do what I just did today and weigh myself with boots and with shoes and, figure out the difference because I'm not wearing my boots anymore. But, well, strange thing to put on a blog, but my boots are hurting my feet, so I'm not wearing them as much. I'm wearing these clodhoppers that I got for Christmas from a friend. What do you call those things? Chucks, I think. So, anywho, insanity. Anywho, what a horrible, horrible expression. But so insanity's been going pretty good for me. I've dramatically increased my ability to do the fit test, and the fit test is just a collection of exercises that you do throughout the video. And for the fit test, I didn't write these things down the first time. I wish I would have, but I could hardly breathe, so I didn't. However, I managed to beat some of the people on blah blah. Words are not coming to my mind. But I managed to beat some of the numbers that they had on the video, and some of these people on the video they said this is how many I had when I started, this is how many I had today, and I managed to beat what they had that day. So I was a little excited by that. So I'm improving. But let's move on to my pull list. The Boys. I actually considered dropping The Boys at one point because I didn't feel like it was going anywhere. I thought what Garth Ennis was mainly doing was just living out his personal vendetta against superhero comic books. And if you don't like superhero comics, that's fine. I don't care. But I still appreciate much of Garth Ennis' other work. Preacher, Punisher, he does great stuff on that. But as some of you guys know, I really, really hated his run called Dicks. I hated Dicks so bad. It was smut. It was terrible. It wasn't funny. It wasn't clever. It was just bad. So here's the deal. And I suppose I could really go deep into the Dicks book right now, but I'm not going to because I don't want to relive that. In fact, I actually sold the book. So what I'm liking about The Boys is that now we're actually getting into our main guy, Huey. And that's exciting to me, mainly because when I was thinking about dropping the book, it was because all they were doing was beating up superheroes. And sometimes, the superheroes did have it coming. I'm not going to say they didn't, but that now we're getting into the relationship that Huey has with one of the main superheroes in this universe. And I find that to be, I read that, excuse me, guys. I read that a couple issues ago, and I thought to myself, finally, we're going somewhere. So The Boys is heating up. It's getting exciting, and I do recommend reading this stuff. Well, I do recommend reading it now. If you hadn't been reading it, I'm not sure whether it'd be in your interest or not. But in fact, I really don't know whether it'd be in your interest now to read it or not if you haven't been keeping up with it. Bottom line is the entire Boys series is interesting. It was fun. It was a lot of dark humor. It was a lot of just weird stuff going on. And I could appreciate it for what it was, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I think that it's everybody's cup of tea. Especially if you prefer coffee. So, moving on to the Punisher Dark Wolverine crossover. Excuse me, Franken-castle Dark Wolverine crossover. I didn't hate the Franken-castle first few issues that they did where it was still called Punisher. But, and I don't hate this either. It's just, when it runs through two different books, and they're both written by different people, there are ridiculous tone differences between the two. And I've read the first three issues, the two Dark Wolverine issues, and the one Franken-castle issue. And it makes sense that it runs through both books, considering that we had the Punisher, The List, where he was killed by Daken, or however you say that guy's name, the son of Wolverine, Dark Wolverine. So it makes sense that it would run through both books. In fact, I think that it might actually have been the best way to go. However, I think that either Remender or Way should have had, I think somebody should have at some point said, okay, we're going to write these 4 issues and it's going to be your book. Because I hate jumping from one book to the next and having 2 different characterizations for these people. Now, they're basically the same. However, there is a different feel, there's a different wit. And I can't get into a story where it changes every 24 pages. So, I can appreciate it for what it is. As I said with The Boys, I can appreciate what they're doing. But as I've said before, the only reason why I'm actually enjoying Franken-castle for any reason is that my brain cannot wrap around the idea that this is in the mainline continuity. It can't. Because I keep thinking it's an Elseworlds. But as I read it, I know it's not an Elseworlds. So, you can call me a hypocrite for saying, well, it's in the mainline continuity, so he should know and he should take it that way. But I can't. So, I'm actually enjoying Franken-castle being this Frankenstein monster. And I still have my Punisher Max to satiate my Punisher lust. My desire to see the Punisher kill people. And, God, that sounds horrible, You think about the stuff that you think about the things that you read, the things that you watch, and suddenly you realize that you like a lot of death. So, moving on to the next one. Marvel Universe versus the Punisher. Now, I've been asked about this by a few people, say, what do you think about it? And I said, I had no idea what to think about it because I hadn't read anything of it. And, it's kind of a Marvel Zombies ripoff, but it's interesting to some extent. I'm not going to recommend it because the entire first issue was just setting up the universe. It was as if to say, we couldn't think of a good way to integrate the universe into the story. We couldn't think of a way to give exposition without just throwing it in your face. So we're going to do just that. And that's irritating to me. I can't stand it when books will shove their pieces of information at you without integrating it into the story. And, I found the world to be interesting. It's an interesting world to have a story in. But I hate the idea of flashbacks. Not all flashbacks, mind you. Some are okay, because as people have said before, I think Captain Logan has said this several times before, you can get away with anything, but you got to get away with it first. So there are ways to do things like flashbacks. And there are ways to just give us exposition. I would almost rather have had just a little, just a page blurb that says, hey, this is what happened in this universe, rather than making the entire first issue of it, because I believe it's only a 4-part series. So, yeah, 1 of 4. So that means that there's only 3 issues of actual story. And now, issue 2 came out today, I believe. I haven't read that yet, I will. But if that's where it's going, if we're going to get a 3-issue series, that's fine. We've had good stories in 3 issues. I mean, why not? But, moving on. Let's see what else is out there. Avengers 2. I read Avengers 2, and I kind of enjoyed it. And, because the last issue came out, so I finished that stuff. At one point, Eric asked me how I felt about the Vice President of the United States being a guy that sold his soul to the devil. I don't care. That's fine. It's part of the story. I'm not going to say that people in politics have to be perfect. I mean, what kind of a story would we have if we have everybody that is in a position of power being perfect? That would be really odd to me. But, let your characters lie. Let your characters be evil in ways that they just, your character doesn't have to be two-dimensional evil. Your character doesn't have to be, well, one-dimensional, whatever the term is. So you can have your characters be however they need to be for the story to be interesting. And I felt like this story was okay. And, that's something that you're going to find a lot, is that I will read a lot of stuff and I'll say, well, that was okay, because there wasn't much behind it that I thought was really interesting. The big thing that I think is going on with the Ultimate Universe right now is just trying to show you something that you don't normally see. They're just trying to shove a bunch of action in your face. And, whatever. I'm getting really tired of it. I'm thinking about, I did buy the first issue of Ultimate Avengers, or Ultimate Avengers 3, but, to tell you the truth, I do not care. Because they've introduced Stick. I think Stick is an irritating character. They've introduced the new Daredevil, because apparently this can happen twice. And, or the universe is moving to compensate for the lack of Matt Murdock or whatever. Anything that's connected to Jeff Loeb on the Ultimate book I find to be extremely irritating. Now, moving on again, because I get irritated when I talk about the Ultimates. Although I will say that I ultimately, no pun intended, enjoyed what they did with the Punisher in the Ultimate Universe. If you haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I kind of appreciated where it went. Now, Walking Dead. I can't get enough of Walking Dead. And I know that sometimes I feel like it's going on too long, because it's 76 issues of just an ongoing story. Every issue is just, there's no end. It just keeps going. But it's good stuff. The thing about zombie books, the thing about zombie movies, the thing about zombie anything is that it's not the zombies that are interesting, it's the people who are surviving that are interesting. We're trying to tell stories within a universe. So if you have a universe that has zombies, I don't want to watch dead creatures eat living creatures. That's not interesting to me. That is a threat within the universe. So it's not interesting to just watch people get shot. It's not interesting to just watch a storm ravage a town. We gotta have some sort of event that takes place, or we have to have some sort of proactive cause that people are working towards. Something. And with Walking Dead, these people are trying to find a stable living. And I find that to be interesting. Oh boy. So, quick thing for my Punisher collection. I read Motormouth, and it's a UK book, and I did not like it. and that's okay. But, it's not a book from the UK. I think they call it Marvel UK because it's about characters from the UK, which I find massively frustrating, and they shouldn't do it.